Ladies and gentlemen, Donald Trump is the 47th president of the United States. He won. He didn't just win, he won on a landslide. Okay? This wasn't even close. There was not one moment at the night where Harris looked like she was going to win. Not one moment of the night. As the night went on, it became blatantly clear Trump was going to win. We just weren't sure how big he was going to win. And as the time went on over the night, my guy got all the swing states. All the swing states. Now he has the House, he has the Senate, and he has the presidency. The next 4 year is going to be unprecedented. We're gonna see some stuff we've never seen. Just in the last week or so, he already is appointing all these people. JFK for Department of Health has been announced today. And how do you think people are gonna take that? This guy who was a vaccine denier, he's obviously backing off from that claim, but still, okay, that's one. Matt Gaetz has just been appointed Attorney General. Oh, these are wild, wild choices, and only time will tell how this is going to go. And everybody on the left or everybody who voted for Kamala is coping differently, right? Some women are cutting their hair. Some women are saying they're not going to have sex with men anymore. They're protesting. The media, I won't even call them mainstream media. I would just say the established media. They're having a breakdown. They can't even figure out how this could be possible, how this could happen. Nobody in the Democrat side is actually looking themselves in the mirror and seeing that, man, maybe the midterm, that trickle. Remember, all the Republicans, and even I predicted there was going to be a red wave, but the red wave never came. It was more of a trickle. So it was just a trickle, and the trickle was basically giving them a warning, giving the Democrat Party, like, hey, we don't like all this stuff you're talking about. What is it? The economy plans you have are just not great. My pockets still feel terrible. For example, chicken fried rice before COVID, it used to be like $6, full size. Now you can't get anything under $10. That's crazy. The ingredients didn't change. Inflation though, inflation has kicking our wallets, and a lot of people noticed that. And Joe's infrastructure bill didn't help at all. It just created more inflation. At the same time that we're experiencing this much inflation, he was talking about forgiving loans to people who took loan to go to school, like basically forgiving student loans, to the point that the Supreme Court said, no, dude, you cannot do that. That's against your duty. But he still didn't care. He still tried to find a way to pay it off. Again, it's a money we don't have. It's just spending more money. Inflation just goes up even more. So they weren't helping from that side. And then let's go to the border, would be another big issue that America had. I've been talking about the border. Republicans are telling you there's over 20 million people in here illegally, but I would say about let's bring it down. Let's just say about 10 million. And just in Joe's administration, how many millions of people just came in here? The numbers are absolutely ridiculous. We're talking about the size of Missouri kind of numbers, and these are undocumented people, have no idea where they're at. All these people would come in and they said they were looking for asylum, and they would give them a date, and nobody's coming back. Now, when Trump was president, at least they would force to be staying in the Mexico border while they're getting processed. But now, in this administration, they just come in, they're like, yeah, I'm running away from this and that, and then they'll just go in the country, regardless if they're lying or not. Let's just say, I think something like 100,000 people who have been denied asylum are now just in America. They don't know where they're at. Cartel business is off the roof, okay? In the last 4 years, literally China has a route of how to get here freely. There's been so many Chinese people coming from all the way China to just come in here. The cartel is making a bank amount of money, and no one's doing anything to stop them, to the point that the Border Patrol had enough. They decided actually to endorse Trump. When Biden was talking about how much he cares for the border, they publicly came out and said we would never advertise for that guy. Instead, they endorsed Donald Trump. That just says enough. To the point of this election, Hispanic man voted over 65% to Trump. That's what they're blaming. They're calling them racist. They're calling them misogynist simply because they decided to vote for somebody who the media has been telling them is racist, who hates Mexicans, he hates Hispanics in general. But they have voted for him in record numbers because they actually are okay with his plan. They even think these people should be getting deported out of here. These illegals are not helpful. Think about all of them who came here legally. It's very hard to come legally in America. And now you're just seeing the border wide open, these people just coming in. Most likely they're probably taking their jobs. I'm not saying that's a good or bad thing. But I'm just saying that's how they see it. Okay? And then so she completely lost. I mean, she had never been to the border. In fact, 2021, Biden even told Harris to lead this effort of making sure the border is all right. So this is him. This is an article talking about Biden saying this. President Biden announced that he was tapping Harris to lead our effort in stamping this movement of so many folks, stamping the migrant to our southern border. Yet since then, Harris has only visited the border once and chose not to go to Rio Grande Valley, the epicenter of the crisis. Since then, Migration Custom Enforcement have reported approximately 8 million border encounters in the southwest region, revealing the extent to which Harris has failed at her assignment of stamping the migration, and her failure to visit the area hardest hit by the crisis demonstrate a lack of interest in understanding and solving the problem. Since July 21, the evening newscasts have spent 7 minutes and 46 minutes on the candidate position on immigration, but only 44 seconds on Harris' failure to visit it. The only coverage, NBC Nightly News, showed clip of Harris lying to anchor Lester Holt in 2021 interview, saying, "We've been to the border. We've been to the border." Holt immediately fact-checks the vice president. "You haven't been to the border." Oh my God. Harris argues, "I haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point in that." So she's lying. She's saying that she's been to the border, and Lester Holt is like, "No, you actually have not been to the border." And in response, she goes, "I haven't been to Europe. I don't understand the point that you're trying to make. You haven't been to the border. That's the point he's trying to make." So that's what I'm talking about. So that's another big issue, that instead of actually trying to solve this problem that she was assigned to, she completely failed. She hasn't visited the border. The only time she visited the border was when she was just getting too much pressure, like during the campaign, basically. How do you think that's going to go over a lot of, people on the other side who think this is an actual issue? Another one is crime. In the last 4 years, crime has been wild, right? From 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, crime has been wild, to the point that Trump brought this up during the debate, saying that, he's a law and order guy. The crime has been crazy, and I'll bring it back to low levels when he was in the office. Even the moderators decided to fact check him, telling him that actually the FBI data shows that in the last 2 years, crime has been going down year after year. And then out of nowhere, early this year, maybe a month or two ago, the FBI decided to revise their crime data. Apparently they found 85,000 crimes that they decided not to put on the books. So instead of crime decreasing, it's actually up 4%. That's another lie that NBC basically fact-checked Trump, telling him that, "Hey man, you're lying about that. Crime is actually down." But the FBI owned data, they decided to revise it and brought some crime back in there. And mostly because you have the biggest departments like New York, California, who just weren't putting their crime into the data. So their data weren't even really part of the original one. So now they're revising it, and it shows that crime is out of control. I mean, really, forget about the data itself. If you just, any person who's been living in America's biggest cities, you can see crime is just rampant. Nobody's stopping people from committing crimes. Everybody is so comfortable at just being just ridiculous to people. And Kamala is just not that person. Kamala is the ones who advocated for police defunding. Back in 2020, before she was selected as Biden's running mate, Harris told a Los Angeles radio show host that she favored cutting police funding. According to ABC News, Harris told Power 106 Los Angeles, hosted by Nick Cannon, that she believed we had to direct resource from police to other areas of government, mentioning schools and small businesses. She says, "For too long, people have confused achieving public safety with putting more cops on the street," Harris said in the interview. But those watching NBC, CBS, or NBC Evening News for information about Harris' position heard nothing about that since Vice President became likely nominee on July 21st. And our poll found 71% of Democrats, Biden supporters, independent, were unaware or not sure that Harris had even advocated cutting funding for the police. And that wasn't just the end of it. She even took a step further to raise money for the victim who got arrested after that riot at George Floyd. Okay, so this is another one. Harris promoted a funding to bail out violent protester during 2020 riot. Back on June 1st, 2020, in the wake of the riot over the death of George Floyd, Harris posted a message on her both Facebook and Twitter promoting a nonprofit. If you're able to chip in now to Minnesota Freedom Fund to help post bail for those protesters on the ground in Minnesota. 2 months later, the local Fox affiliated in Minneapolis reported among those bailed out by Minnesota Freedom Fund is suspect who shot at a police, a woman accused of killing a friend, and 2 convicted sex offenders, according to a court record reviewed by Fox 9 investigation. Even Harris has pitched herself as a tough-on-crime prosecutor during her current campaign. The big 3 evening newscasts haven't said a word about Harris' past advertisements seeking donation to bail out violent offenders, and our poll found that most Democrat Biden supporters, independent, 78% had no idea or unaware that Harris had ever done this. So it's no surprise to hear after her choosing these positions that police departments around the country basically endorsed Donald Trump, because she was obviously on the side that cops are racist, we shouldn't have more cops in the street, less cops are better, we should take their money away from them. How do you think they're going to feel? How do you think that helps crime in any way? And people can see that. Our home state, California, is it's in the toilet when it comes to just crime. People are getting mugged, robbed, stores are getting robbed, stores are being closed everywhere in the state simply because they refuse to control their crime. Okay? So that's another point. And then the other point would be, the other big point would be foreign policy. When it comes to foreign policy, I even believe the Biden administration have failed uberly. Okay? Let's just start from the Afghanistan situation. They handled that terribly. Okay? And then you go to the Ukraine situation. They also handled that terribly in the sense that instead of finding ways to get these 2 countries to a table, all they're doing is basically giving Ukraine unlimited amount of money to no end to this war. Like, we don't know how this is supposed to end. Both sides people are dying record numbers, and it doesn't look like nobody is winning anything. And we're just constantly spending money, and American people at a time where they want the money to stay here because they're seeing that their money is not just going to illegal immigrants, now it's going out of the country for no benefit to them at all. And they just don't support that. That's one. And then the last one would be is the Iran situation. The Biden administration took sanctions away from Iran to where now they're making billions of dollars on their oil, and they're selling it, and they're funding all these terrorist groups in the Middle East, therefore causing us to be there and control these terrorist groups. One example would be the fact that after Hamas group has been destroyed, they're finding papers and plans that they sent to Iran telling them like, hey, give us $500 million and we will destroy Israel. But if Iran was still on the sanction, they couldn't afford to give all this money to their proxy. Even a lot of people could blame that October 7th was largely because Iran funding Hamas. Another ally we have is Israel. Israel is the only ally we have in the Middle East. A lot of people don't want. I mean, there's a lot of anti-Semitic is out of control at this point. But really, it's I would say it's on both sides at this point. It used to just be on the right side when it comes to anti-Semitic. Now it's literally on both sides. It's coming from both sides of the aisle. It's pretty insane. Like I read a lot about anti-Semitic just throughout history, but to just living through it, it's quite wild. And the way people rationalize it, I mean, every day you're having some prominent person coming out and just going crazy about how anti-Semitic they are, and they're just comfortable. People are just openly getting comfortable or just being complete anti-Jew, right? I mean, at first they'll say Israel this, Israel that, and they slowly just turn to just Jews. Jews this, Jews that, Jews control the world, all that stuff. So you used to just find this on the right side of the aisle. Now it's on the left side, especially during this administration. And mostly because, again, the Biden administration didn't choose a side. They try to play both sides. They're saying that, like, Israel, we will stop you from getting all these weapons. And then on the other hand, they'll tell the Palestinian supporters that, hey, Israel is our ally and they need to do what they got to do. To the point that the Arabic community just couldn't take it. And they're like, you know what? We're going to advertise for Trump. But really, I know the main reason why the Arab community, the Muslim community, the Arab community, the Somalians in Minnesota, they all came out. They're all saying that they were going for Trump simply because the transgender issue. Now, the transgender issue is something that people don't talk about enough, but Trump knew the fact that all the religious people, like, regardless what you believe, this country is still very much a religious country. I mean, I would say about 70% of the population still identify as Christians. Over that 70%, I would say about 50% of them are very much practicing religious people, right? And those people, first of all, they're not okay with men playing sports with female. They're just not okay with that. And they have came out and said that loudly. I would even say majority of religious people, that was their number one issue, is hearing that these transgender men are playing sports with their daughters. They just weren't okay with that. Regardless if you agree with them or not, they were not okay with it. That was a big no-no. And then on the Democrat side, they're like, no, yeah. We're not just going to be okay with it. We're going to fund it, and we're going to pass laws to say that if you go against it, you're transphobic. That just upset everybody, right? And they didn't just stop there. They've been saying that now your tax money will be used to pay for these transgender surgeries, to minors, the hormones and everything. How is that going to go well for the other side of the aisle, people who are against this stuff? They're not necessarily against the idea of you being transgender. They're against the fact that you'll use my money to support this. You can do whatever you want on yourself, but to use my own money to support this, that's where people draw the line. And a lot of religious people, that was the line. And another one was the abortion. So the abortion thing is, I can't believe that the Democrat Party, to me, they have weaponized that. And I hope this election showed that that's the one weapon that they can't use anymore. That's what I like to think. We had about 7 states have basically radicalized abortion into their constitution. One of them is Missouri. Missouri is pretty much a Trump country, right? People, it doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or not, it's a red state. But even they decided to pass abortion. And again, the main thing for religious people while they're against abortion is simply their thinking is that you are killing a baby. You know what I mean? For them, life starts at conception. You might not agree with it, but that's what they believe. Now, to use their tax money to do these programs, they're not okay with it. And I think that's fair. But the Democrats said, this is against your women, this is against your daughters, your mothers. You know, they made it seem like this was more of a men and women issue instead of this is more being pro-life and pro-choice issue. Because there's a lot of women who voted for Trump who are pro-life as well. I mean, that's why there's a lot of women who are mad at other white women specifically because they voted for Trump. They're saying, like, you know, a thing like Joy Reid. Joy Reid basically came out and she was like, you know, from now on, white women don't ask us to support you for anything. All right, we're just gonna go focus on black issues. You know, black women came and you have let us down. Okay, from now on, if anything issue you guys want to go on, don't call us black women because you have let us down. So people were making it seem like this was a men and women issue. There were a lot of people coming telling me about, like, you know, I'm doing this for my daughter. How about the sons? That's another thing. This was an election where nobody even thought about the men. The young men. Gen Z overwhelmingly chose to vote for Trump for that reason. I mean, you're hearing parents tell you that my kids in college can't even speak up because they're afraid they'll be canceled. How do you think these mothers feel? You think these mothers are okay with you just saying, I'm doing this for my daughter? they're also doing this for their sons. How about that? You know, like, so it's just the Democrat Party try to choose to focus on maybe 20% of the population, pander to them, and they forgot the rest of the country. And the rest of the country have roared back and let them know that they don't like this agenda. And a lot of people are mad at their news organization. I heard, all the established media are losing record numbers of viewers. And they should as well, because they've been lying. They decided to pander than anything else. They thought the fact that Taylor Swift, Billie Eilish, Ben Stiller literally came out and he was talking about that, like, man, us Jews, we always were jealous of the blacks. I wish I was black. What kind of pandering is that? What are you doing? Why are you telling us that you wish that you were black? What's the purpose of that? You name a celebrity and they all advertised for Kamala Harris, and the media showed you that. They're like, oh, the Swifties are gonna come and they're gonna change this whole election. Billie Eilish concert, oh my God, these girls are gonna come and they're gonna change the election. They literally got the Avengers. They got literally the Avengers to come out and endorse her, and nothing happened. Katy Perry, Beyonce, Eminem. They even sent Obama to yell at black men about how he is disappointed that they wouldn't vote for a black woman, and that they would even think about voting for someone like Trump. And I believe all this stuff did complete the opposite. When Trump was at the Madison Garden and he had Tony over there and making jokes about Puerto Rico being a garbage island, they were like, racist, xenophobe, these Nazis. Again, all these stuff just completely backfire because people don't believe you guys anymore. And now, after this happened, you assume that you guys will look at yourself in the mirror and be like, what have we done wrong? What can we do different? Instead of doing that, this is who they decided to blame.
Why didn't this work? We're still unpacking what exactly happened.
Some of this is pure racism and misogyny.
White supremacist ideology.
Uneducated white women.
Nostalgia for a past that didn't exist.
The headwinds of the economy.
Misinformation.
The patriarchy.
The American people have given up on democracy.
Latinos in Texas, a district that's 97% Latino, went 75 percentage points for Donald Trump. Why?
Misogyny.
How much of this is just old-fashioned sexism? How much of this is just old-fashioned misogyny?
It's misogyny from Hispanic men. It's misogyny from black men.
Not enough people in this country yet believe in the full equality of women. Among Hispanic men and black men, there's a lot of misogyny.
Might be race issues.
Black voters came through for Kamala Harris. White women voters did not.
A lot of Hispanic voters have problems with black candidates.
I don't put sexism and racism past the United States. I think that for some people that was a factor.
The short answer is the sexism, the misogyny, the racism that is so unquantifiable.
Anyone who has experienced or been in the United States for any period of time cannot have believed that it would be easy to elect a woman president, let alone a woman of color.
Who are we as a country? And we're starting to find out. And from what I'm seeing right now, I'm not sure. I like it.
So as you can see, they have not learned their lesson. They're gonna keep going this route, and I say keep doing it. Keep going this route and see what happens. Because as of right now, I don't even see what the comeback for the Democrat Party would be at. Who is their next person to lead? I mean, they literally have to redo this party. Are they going to do it? We shall see.